welcome back to the second part in our two-part series with Kate Hemat-Siraky from Zest People. We're talking all things HR and culture. I'm not going to go through the pyramid again. Just if you're dialing in now, just stop listening and go back to the first episode. You definitely can't skip it. Not only is it because I don't want to explain the model again, but it's also because I reckon a lot of people are going to see the episodes and the titles of the episodes and they're like, compliance, I'll go straight to engagement. Don't do that, right? Like, don't do that, because even if your thinking is, no, I'm good for compliance, you're not, right? Like, I think I'm good at compliance and I learned a shitload just then, right? We did that episode. So don't do that. Go back, listen to the first episode, just shut up and sit through it, and then come back to this and you're going to get a lot more out of it, right?
You can listen on 1.2 speed.
Okay,
yeah,
there you go.
It's allowed.
Yeah, hot tip.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the whole essence, if I had to try to sum it up, was that compliance is your foundation for success, right? If you don't go in pretty forensically and fix the structural integrity of your compliance management, whatever you do in engagement is going to have a hole in the bucket, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and shows like Ted Lasso should put more into this.
But it's so boring, you know? It's not. That doesn't make for good TV.
I mean, although, I don't know, maybe I'm missing it. Are there any aspects of Ted Lasso where they do compliance really well and they just don't brag about it? Fuck, you got to think, don't you?
Yeah, the fact that you got to think almost tells you the answer, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. Like, yeah. Okay, let's not go down that rabbit hole. I'm just thinking then, so we're going into engagement now.
Yes.
It's basically the other half of this whole topic. And it's also the motivating half, right? Because it's the bit that attracts people to want to invest in it. They just think, I want really good engagement. I want really happy people. You know, I just read that HBR article about all those tech companies that, you know, invest in all of their employees, get their laundry done for them. And now they've just, you know, captured extra market share. That's the stuff, right, that gets headlines. That's the stuff that captures people's attention. But what they don't realize is if you start there, it's pretty risky.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to invest a lot of time and money into an area and not necessarily see the return. So get the compliance stuff sorted. But now we're assuming that people have listened to that first episode. You know, your inbox probably got inundated with people asking to help, right? And you helped them.
Put my phone on Do Not Disturb mode over here.
So now that that's happened, let's talk about engagement. And similarly, I guess what I think would be great is if I give you my understanding on it. And again, tell me, you know, rip it to shreds, right? So when I think about engagement, I just think about like three main areas, right? And this is, you know, like I've studied a bunch of HR and people and culture subjects, right? And the fact that I'm about to say it this way is I'm scared that one of my old professors is going to like crack the shits at me, right? Because it's very, very ad hoc and I'm definitely paraphrasing some shit. But it's just what works for me when it comes to implementation. So there's three things I think about when it comes to engagement. First one, most important one, is people journeys, right? So recruitment, onboarding, growth and development, right? They're the journeys that people take throughout your organization. And if you're not strategic about how you manage those processes, you're just creating a lot of spot fires down the road. Second part of that, though, is building on people journeys is measurement of engagement, okay? And that is a big one, right? Because you cannot just be relying on the vibe. You can't be relying on, I came to work, and you know, that person just felt a bit off. I'll take them out for a beer later and we'll figure it out. Like, it's not going to work, right? You need to have some analytics around the culture in your organization, the morale, the way people feel in terms of trust, safety, relationship with manager, and building on all the things we talked about when it comes to policy design and compliance around respect and inclusion. If you don't have a really systematic way of giving people a voice and then measuring the way that they're feeling, you are not even doing close to the bare minimum, in my opinion. So, you know, so you've got people journeys, you've got measurement of engagement. And then the third one is just really cut and dry, but it's all about just how you physically approach the management of personnel. And it's this weird one. So I haven't ever read like an academic article on this, right? But it's just in every single job I've ever had, right? It's this idea about, okay, I want to do the right thing by people. I want to have one of those organizations that builds people, right? I don't want to have to like hire the best talent out there. I want to be able to create it and all that. That's my intention every time. Where does that go wrong? Is that I'm misreading a few things, right? Sometimes it works out amazing, right? And it's in fact, more often than not, it works out amazing. But there's a bit of friction on the way, which is that I'm trying to build this person into this level of capability and it's just not there. But I'm not being honest enough with myself and that person. And now I'm not doing anyone any favors, right? And I've just created this opportunity for this person and they're probably hating life. But
I hope not.
Yeah, to some degree. And I'm not dealing with it, right? Because I'm just like, oh, great, that person's going to become this. And I don't have the right architecture around how am I actually auditing their performance, right? Like that's like if you look at sporting organizations, places like that, like the number one thing that makes elite organizations work is feedback, right? So if I'm not providing them with that feedback, I'm just like, all right, Kate's going to come on board and eventually, Kate, you're going to be the venue manager. And now here's a little journey that you've got to take to get there. But there's a bunch of little detail that you're getting wrong or you're not rostering right or whatever. But, how am I making sure that you've got that direct line of feedback that's telling you whether you're doing it right or doing it wrong? So, yeah, long-winded way, but it was like people journeys, measurement of engagement, and then the management of personnel to make sure that you're applying the right feedback. How, comprehensive do you think that is? Or when it comes to engagement, what are the obvious ones I'm missing?
It's pretty good. Actually, I didn't even tell you that I would do this, but what I really love about the model that you use is you could take that, and I know, we've been thinking about that as it applies to a business as a whole, an entity as a whole. But let's just think about that purely from the people inside the business. And first of all, one of the things that, anyone who spent any time with me will know that I never use the word HR.
Okay.
I rarely use people and culture, although sometimes I'm called to, because if I don't do that, people won't understand what I mean.
You need a bridge.
But I do not believe that I or my team or someone in my role is responsible for culture in an organisation. We're all responsible for culture. So I use people experience. So everything we're talking about today is people experience. And where you just went was kind of like deep into a rabbit hole thinking about the individual people experience, like someone in a venue manager's role, someone in a chef's role. But before we get to that, if we go to the very top of the pyramid, there is a absolute requirement. And if you've been diligently listening to Pax's podcast from the first one, and as Leon said, we won't explain the model again, go back to the first one. But one of the big drivers that I'm always a fan of, and when I start working with new clients, I'll always say, what's the why? So these two things can start to come together. Why does the business exist? What's its purpose? What's its mission? But then we need to find a way to hook people into that. The same way we want to hook consumers in, guests in, to go, I want to go there because we want to do the same thing with people. I want to work there because their values and my values align.
Yes.
That's great. So, so we really want that why from a people experience perspective, and what flows from the why is the values. You do, if you haven't done the work to define your values, I think that's a part of that pyramid.
Yes.
Is to say, okay, well, and hopefully those values aren't like boring values that we could take out of your organisation and put into the restaurant next door and they'd be the same values. Like do the work to be make it individual, make it like really you. Yeah. And what that will do is, word of mouth, people talk. There'll be some people that are like, their values are my values. And those people will instantly want to work for you.
Yes.
And there'll be other people out there that are like, I don't agree with that. I think, you guys talk a little bit about like that's the 10%, but it's okay for those 10% to be like, I don't want to work there.
It's fine.
Great.
Figure that out early.
Sort that out before you even come to work for us. Don't come and work for us because it's not going to work out anyway. Go and work somewhere else. There is a place for everyone. I really do believe that.
Yeah.
And so getting that real why and values and, you know, again, we're going to work through the pyramid as it relates to people. But if we don't have that, we really can't pass go. We really can't move to, you know, starting to measure it or what we do on that front. And the only other thing I'd add to your journeys bit is think about turnover in hospitality.
Right.
We absolutely need to add the end.
Oh, like offboarding?
Yeah, offboarding.
Yeah.
Because the end doesn't need to be dramatic.
No, they can be like the alumni and all that.
Totally. They become your biggest ambassadors, maybe your most frequent guests, return guests. Like, you know, the people that are still out there in other circles that are referring great talent into you. Like, it doesn't need to be ugly, although, you know, I see some ugly ends as well.
Yeah, but can I say, in my mind, like where I've tried to account for that in the past and done it pretty successfully is that if I've got growth and development, if I've got that journey nailed, I've kind of got that stuff done by default because it means every time, you know, every month we're sitting down to go through someone's development plan, you know, let's just say that's the process we select, like we are basically having a really concentrated discussion with high levels of frequency around how do we make your life better. Right. And it's not this like, oh, let's not worry about the company, let's worry about the people. It's like, hey, there's something symbiotic in this, right?
Totally.
So I guess like in my mind, it's like, hey, if we're catching up every month to talk about what are your best interests here and how do we protect them and build on them, sometimes that leads to a person exiting. Right. And as an employer, the worst thing you can do is be like, turnover costs so much, I don't want to lose people. It's like, no, sometimes if the best thing for that person is pursuing an opportunity that you can't provide, right, then that is the best thing for the organisation. And if you've gotten your people journeys nailed, then succession shouldn't be an issue. But to your point though, I just think, I know, looking back at it and reflecting, I could be way more deliberate about it. Like I'm the guy that will forget that it's like, okay, on their last day, have you bought a gift? Like, fuck.
I'm also that person, by the way. Like I know I'm the people experience person, but the constant development for me is that piece around recognition and making sure that we go, oh, you did a great job, or oh, here's a, you know, book on your last day, whatever it is.
The type 3. Enneagram.
Well, it's just, you know, I'm like, next, forward.
So, okay, while you were talking at the start, I was just quickly jotting down some points because I just love what you started with there around understanding the mission, understanding the values. Without that, you cannot pass go. And I've explained this to others in the past where it's like, hey, even if you are at the point where you're about to bring in like a really great, you know, people experience person, as you put it, if you were hiring me to do that job and you didn't have that mission deck, I would be demanding it. I'd be like, well, hey, that whole 3-month roadmap you gave me goes out the window. Right, without that information, I can't do any of that stuff because I don't have a foundation for engagement. And where I actually fit that, or where I put that as a checklist item, is in recruitment, right, for the people journeys. Because, you know, without that document, how do you know if you're recruiting the right people? And so you put it really well, right? It's like not everyone's going to be for you. And when I'm sort of educating or guiding people on recruitment and how to think about it, one of the things I tell them is that a really good recruitment process is going to minimize the amount of time it takes you to realize someone's not right for your business. Okay, so the classic example I always go to is that like you're going to hire like a kitchen hand, right? And you don't ask them a simple question, right? How far away do you live and do you have your own transport? Right? Like imagine if I don't ask them that in the phone interview, right? And then I'll do the phone interview, I do the in-person interview, I get them in, I do the trial, I train them all week. And then on Saturday night, they're like, hey, chef, I got to go to get the last train home because I live an hour away. And now it's like, great, I spent a week training you and realized like I can't keep you on. It's like that could have been, you know, you could have spent maybe 90 seconds to determine that, not a whole week.
Yep.
And so again, right, if you take that as an example and you run with it from a mission context, it's really going into the things where it's like, hey, if my whole organization and my purpose statement is completely anchored by positive impact, and you don't really give a shit about that, that is so fine, right?
Yeah,
I'm not going to throw shade at you. You don't
No.
have to.
Yeah.
But it's probably not going to be the right place for you, right? And so many people don't do this, right? They don't get the mission bit. And I'll give you another quick example, and then I really want to hear your experience with it, is ethos, right? So one of the things that I've been preaching about for a long time is like in hospitality, there's different types of service. And the easiest way that I like to explain it is that you can basically imagine like a 2x2, okay? And on one axis, you've got what I would call warm service or cold service, okay? Which is a thing, right? Like you've got warm service where you walk in and it's like awesome tunes, they give you a hug, they want to know your life story.
Interaction versus transaction.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yep.
And then there's other places that train for, they don't call it cold service, they call it maybe precision, where it's like, no, don't ask people how their day is because that's going to affect your wait times, right? So it's like just boom, 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 transactional precision, right? So there's cold and there's warm. And then within that axis, right, if you think about that on the vertical axis, there's also polished, right, or kind of loose.
Yeah, casual.
Well, no, not casual. I mean actually loose, like
sure.
not that tight.
Yep.
Right? It's like it's kind of patchy.
Yep.
Right? So it's like well executed and not well executed, right? And if you think about that on the vertical axis, right? It's like it doesn't matter if you're cold or warm. You can just be fucking elite at what you do and service people really well and really consistently, or you can kind of be shit at what you do. And if you think about like cold and loose, right? Those are like, think about the crappy kebab shop at 1 a.m, right? And they probably have a lot of 1-star reviews, right? And then you think about like warm and loose, right? And those are places that are just like usually pretty iconic.
Yeah. Chaotic.
And chaotic.
Yeah.
But then when you've got like your, cold and polished and your warm and polished, they're like the elite, right? And everyone's trying to get there. But chances are, you pick a side, left or right? You're either cold or warm. That doesn't change. But the level of execution probably fluctuates a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
And so anyway, my point with this is that if I'm going to recruit someone for a hospitality venue, that is going to be my first fucking question. Which is the style of service that you prefer? Because not everyone wants to do the warm. Like some people will be like, well, look, I do want to talk to my guests, but what's not appropriate for the workplace is X. It's like, okay, cool, you're on that side.
Yeah.
All right, that's cool. But what we want is you to be hugging every customer and telling them jokes and getting to know them and tastefully.
Yeah.
But that is a big one, right? And I've actually had people in interviews when I explain that, they go, okay, so you guys are in that right-hand side?
Yeah.
Probably not for me.
Yep.
And I'm like, hey, totally cool. And they say thank you. And then they leave. And it's like, great.
Yep.
Everybody wins now.
I think there is also, because we're all about, that efficiency and that return on investment, there is a way that you can make sure you get that out before you even have to have that conversation, potentially.
Okay.
Like let's love-hate relationship with job ads, but let's go there because they are a crucial part of the way that people recruit.
Sure.
I see a lot of like stock standard, like especially now with AI, like Seek's got AI, LinkedIn's got AI, everyone's got AI that says like put the job title in, I'll write the job for you.
Yeah.
Like I'm a fan, use AI for your own efficiency.
Yep.
However, if we go back to the example that you gave, we can use some language, and I know I'm always on about the language, but we can use some language that almost tells people that pretty explicitly before they even apply.
Yes.
So, we can say we are a venue which is warm. We have lots of regular guests. They're like our family. We hug them. We care about what's going on in their life. Like there's wording about you in there. Then, if you think about job ads that always have that like about you or about us section or about the business, please don't take the bit from your website that you want to like share with a consumer, share with a guest and share that with talent when you're explicitly doing a job ad.
You need to
That's your opportunity to really say, this is what we are. There's the why and the values. Again, done well, you'd see that. There's a place for all of this. And then in the about you, you'd literally say something. In the example that you just gave, you'd be comfortable hugging a return guest. You'd be comfortable getting down on your knees to a child's level and talking to them. Like if that's what you're looking for, tell people that. Because there are people that will read that and go, no, thank you very much.
Exactly. Great.
So there we go. We've just saved you time. And
Yep.
like if we come back to recruitment, yes, it's a little bit of a funnel, right? Like the more we get in at the top, the more we get down to the bottom and we get the right person or people. But I don't actually mind if you only have like 5 people in your funnel, if all 5 of those have read it and go, oh, that's me, that is my next job. Much better that we deal with 5 great people than 55, or even some of the job ads I see like 305 people that are just not right and don't meet the criteria, because that's, again, a lot of work for you in having to sift through all those people.
Totally. And like the whole point of recruitment is to minimize the amount of time it takes you to discover someone's not right.
Yeah.
And so on that principle alone, like that's a winner. And I'll tell you a classic one that just came to mind as you were talking there. I used to work with the CEO once, and they used to put in a job ad when they were hiring like people in the C-suite. And I even remember him grilling me on this when I was joining the team, but it was like, I remember he said in the job ads, it would be like nothing about the company. It was just like, these are my top 3 favorite business books.
Okay,
So
yeah, I can
like,
see that.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Because instantly you read, you know, if you're into that shit,
Yep.
which if someone's going to be in your C-suite, you'd
hope
want them,
they are,
Yeah.
yeah.
And as soon as it's just such a line in the sand,
Yep.
don't you think? Like someone's read that book and they rate it.
You get it.
Instantly,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
no way, or
Yeah.
hell yeah, let's talk.
But also, you're talking to 2 very nerdy people here who are like, yeah, we've read that book. Or like, oh, I read the job ad, and that's one book I hadn't read, and I was like immediately like, I must read this book before I apply for this job and see, like, is that my person? Yeah, no, I think that's on the job ad front. But ideally, you know, really done well, we don't have to put jobs out. Like
Right.
I, as I said, love-hate relationship with job ads, love, hate relationship with the big job board that you can almost not ever avoid if you want talent, which annoys me. But there are ways where if we think about the amount of effort we put into writing that job ad, spending the money, which is now like a minimum of $700 if we want to do it well for 30 days. That's a lot. It's a killer.
Yeah.
So if we think about that and we go, okay, let's put that amount of effort into really getting a clear message across to all of our team where this is our why, this is our values, you're here for a reason. If you know people like us, please, we want to hear about them.
Yep.
Make the effort, bring them to us.
Yeah.
Good people want to work with good people.
Yeah.
You're all good people.
Yeah.
Let's work with some more good people. I mean, the whole employee referral program thing is what I'm explicitly talking about there. But I also think, you know, one of the best things that a manager once said to me was everyone's responsible for talent. And especially as a founder, an owner, CEO, general manager, the person who's ultimately accountable that we have enough bums on seats, we have enough warm beating hearts in our organisation doing their jobs. If you can make that everyone's responsibility, imagine how much better you can sleep at night, because it's not all on you.
Totally.
The referral program is one way, but I also think, you know, by getting that culture of talent is everyone's responsibility, you get really cool behaviour where, you know, a bunch of your team go to another venue and they're having a great experience at a bar and they get talking to that bartender and they're like, how long you been here?
Yeah.
What do you like doing? Oh, we're from such and such. Like every opportunity that you engage with, I mean, in hospitality, a service professional. I had a brilliant head of talent that worked for me once, and like this guy was just a masterclass in talent, right? Like in another restaurant, he's like exchanged numbers with the sommelier.
Wow.
In the back of an Uber, he's talking to this guy about how he's done a kitchen hand job, but he couldn't find a great employer. He's exchanged numbers with this guy.
So
like,
cool.
I mean, that is his job. He's a head of talent, but he really taught me like, every engagement with a service professional is an opportunity to get talent. If you think about, if you're out there with those glasses on, walking around the world, you can bring in a lot of talent to your organisation and save hundreds of dollars on CCADs.
I love that. And I love, though, when you said like that idea that like talent is everyone's responsibility. Like that's also just a really good outcome of nailing all this stuff, right? Like if you're sitting down with someone and you're genuinely managing their growth and development, you're giving them the feedback, they genuinely feel like they're getting better week on week. It's visible, right? They can see it, and their pathway for development is in their own hands, right? They are going to be loving that. And they are going to be out there actively talking to the people that they care about that work in similar fields, right? Their peers. And they're going to be like, you need to get in this system.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're going to actively be just doing that anyway. It's not necessarily something that needs to be prescribed. It's just like, hey, nail the people experience for your people and they will be ambassadors.
Absolutely. But you may need to give them some tools. You may need to say, so when you're out there, in that bar, talking to that bartender, and you need to make sure that they know who we are and where we are, and you need to give them our website, give them our Instagram, give them your Instagram. Gone are the days of a business card. Like I don't even have a business card, but do you know what I mean? You need to find a way to connect with them.
Yeah, sure.
Always now for clients that I work with, I will almost force on them after we've done that boring compliance stuff. It is pretty crucial to define your mission critical roles. Like those are the roles where when we don't have them, the lights literally can't turn on. And it's not always, by the way, the most senior people in the organization. And the way we do that, again, you and I have a shared love for a model, but we do think about how easy or hard is it to replace this person and how critical are they to the lights going on. So when we've got those people in the kind of top corner where it's really, really hard to replace them, it's going to take a really long time to find them, and the lights don't go on if they're not around. Those roles, if you're a leader of those roles, you must be talent pooling those people.
Yep.
Again, I know we talked about a little bit in the compliance episode, but I had a team of 23 people experience professionals. I knew the people experience partners, the HR business partners, there's like 5 of them in the team. Really, really critical to the organization's success and keeping the lights on, more so than the only other people that kind of match up are the payroll people, right? But also finding that fit, that cultural fit, crucial.
Got it.
Also a team of women who are going off to have kids and have other caring responsibilities, and some are part-time. I always had a bank of like 3 or 4 people who I'd connected with on LinkedIn, who I'd had a coffee with, who I checked in with every 6 to 12 months. So that the second one of those people experience partners said, I'm ready to move on, I've hit my ceiling here, or I'm pregnant, I'm having a baby, I'm good. I don't need a seek out. I'm ready to go because I've been banking these people for ages. And because I've had lots of engagements with them, I don't need to have an interview with them other than to formalize the fact that we're going into this. But their values aligned. Like think about those mission critical roles in your team and go out and find the people in those pools. Don't wait to put an ad up. Yeah,
I love that. So it's funny because I think there's probably a few people that want to know when it comes to recruitment, they want to know, like what we are speaking about is how to think about it, I don't want to waste time with like how to do it. Like if you just need templates for interviews and shit, like dude, just email us. We'll send you some shit. Right? But
totally.
It's like I don't want to waste time in this talking about that bare minimum.
But do have a plan. But that's it.
100%. But where my mind goes is like I think about like some of the really cool shit that that you hear about in goated organizations. Like did you ever hear about Zappos? And in their recruitment stage, towards the end, they'll say, hey, for anyone in the room right now that is still not sure, you can leave outside the door. There's a guy at a desk and they'll cut you a check for $1,000.
Yeah.
So they'll pay people to leave at that point. Like, how's that for filtration, right? Like,
look, you hear great stories like that, or the stories where, it's like if you're not on the bus, you can immediately have a redundancy. Like we'll help you to leave. I mean, practically, I don't see a lot of people that I work with financially being able to do that stuff. But I think there's ways that, the sentiment there around if you're not on the bus, we'll help you to get off. And it's no harm, no foul. Like it's just okay if we're not for everyone. And it might not necessarily be like service style. It might be, like we really expect our team to grow and develop. Like we expect a really high level of self-awareness and emotional intelligence. And this person just doesn't have that. It's just not them. Look, rather than us like fighting you and pushing you for it, you're not going to get there. Can we just help you jump somewhere that is better? Like again, you know, I think one thing that we do really well in hospitals, we do have pretty good industry networks.
Yes.
I mean, you've talked about the example of like calling friends, competitors essentially, and being like, how much is your gas bill?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, call them and say, do you have a spot for a chef with this skill? Do you have a spot? You know, I've got someone, they're not bad. Yeah. They're just not right for us.
Yep, totally.
Can we swap?
Yeah. The amount of times I've done that, and again, this speaks really highly to the whole offboarding bit and creating that alumni. It's like, you know, when you get to the point where it's like, hey, this, you know, I can no longer provide what is in your best interest. The next best thing is, how do I help you get to a place where you can? Yeah. You know, and I'll tap everyone I know, you know, on the shoulder. Let's actually, the only conversation we should be having is, what does that next step look like for you?
Yeah. And then let me tap the right people.
Yeah, let me find. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to jump because we need to get through a lot here. So from recruitment, we're going to go to onboarding.
Yes.
So let's just say I found that person, they're great. You know, what do I need to think about when it comes to onboarding? And if you can, try to, you know, skip some of the obvious stuff. Like, obviously you need to send them a fucking email with a contract, with
the tax file number declaration. Yeah, do that.
Like all the hygiene stuff.
Look, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but like, once again, similar to the recruitment process, it's like, have a plan.
Yes.
Have a plan. Like, that's the biggest
downfall. What does a good plan look like for you?
Yeah, look, I think you do need to pay attention to that soft stuff. Like, you do need to pay attention to actually sitting down and saying, you know, I know we talked about it in recruitment process, but you were probably putting your best foot forward and, you know, pretending that everything was amazing and fully confident. Like, let's talk about what our why and our values are. Let's talk about, you know, the values in action look like behaviors. That's the sort of stuff that we're talking about here for your role.
Yeah. And if possible, like, if you haven't already had any contact with them, it'd be great for you to hear that content from the voice and perspective of the founder.
Totally.
Or the CEO.
Yeah. Totally. And again, depends on the size of your organization, depends on like geographically whether that's possible. Think about, if you've never thought about it, think about doing that digitally. Like even literally like a 2 to 5 minute little video, like shot on an iPhone, piece to camera. It doesn't need to be like really, really fancy, full produced.
No, just something.
Just to be able to share that message.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a client where literally during COVID, we virtually recorded their respect and inclusion training, myself, the exec chef and the group ops manager. And they still use that video to like, you know, as part of the onboarding.
Love that.
To avoid the need to get into a 1 hour face-to-face session for everybody. So like you can do this really like smell of an oily rag type stuff.
Yeah.
But the plan is important and you do need to hit all those touch points, the why, the values, the behaviours. Look, tap people into the network, like do a good job of meeting their team.
Yes.
You know, connecting those relationships really early, because even just from a safety perspective, that's going to help. If they know their team members' name and they've had an actual conversation with them, not that awkward like 1 minute like shake hands like, oh hey Leon, I'm Kate, like I'm new, like more than that, like a sit down.
In a busy service, seconds count. Square's point of sale is there to streamline your operations, from order flowing from the front of house to the back of house to tableside payments with Square handheld. It's tech your staff will love to use and tech they won't need to fiddle with, so they can focus on the best service. Head to squareup.com because service still matters.
It's a bit corny, but I love I'm a big fan. I've done it a lot of like giving someone a buddy.
Yeah, I love it.
But not in their department.
Yeah.
The other thing though that I found in organisations that get to a certain size is, you know, having learnt this the hard way from like, okay, one thing we ought to do for everyone is on your first day, let's walk through the building and introduce you to everyone.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden I was like, oh shit, that's not working anymore, because not everyone that works here is in the building every day.
Correct.
And also no one's got time for that. You know, it's just, there's just too many people now and they're all super busy.
And it is a bit
And it can be a bit awkward.
And inauthentic. Like, hi, I'm Kate. Hi, I'm Kate.
If they're introverted
hi.
And so one thing that I've always really liked is like, you know, I've always just used Trello for this, but there's obviously a better solution now, is just having a database where it's a photo of the person with a little bit of a bio and who they are, what they do, contact details. And that's just kind of like, great. That's everyone.
Yeah.
You know, because even for me, working in companies where I've been like leading the organization, and you go into one of the venues and you don't know everyone, and it's like I cannot remember who all of the people are. Like having that up your sleeve just gives you better social, psychological safety in a way.
Yeah.
So when it comes to onboarding, you hear all the great stuff right around organizations where on day one, when I get to my desk, there's a hamper. You know, and there's like gift vouchers so I can go and experience all the venues, and there's like I've never been that organised, right?
Neither.
but one thing I have been really like staunch on is that like that person needs a really comprehensive email before day one. So it's almost like day zero.
Yeah.
And it's like on day zero, I'm going to send you all the hygiene stuff, of course. But then on top of that, it's going to be like hey, here's everything you need to know about day one. Here's the document that tells you all the Wi-Fi passwords. Here's the blah, blah, blah. But then I also love to have a document in there which is just called how to approach this role, you know, and it's not, it's a little bit messy. It's a little bit loose, and, you know, it's optional reading. But I found the most amount of response, like when people come in and then I quiz them, you know, a couple of weeks, I'm like, how was your onboarding process? What did you like? What did you not like? Everyone always goes, you know what, that how to approach the role document, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Like they really, really enjoy that. And it can sometimes be a bit rambly. It can sometimes be whatever. I mean, now with the use of AI, you can make anything clean. But I just think like, to me, it's about giving someone as much information as possible, even to the point of like, hey, this is where you should park your car.
Yes.
Bring your lunch, or this is what we normally do for lunch. And just giving them all those things so they're not having to waste valuable headspace in the building thinking about that stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, you know, it comes back to that people experience thing. When we think about the people experience, we almost empathize. We put ourselves in that person's shoes and we think about, what would I be worried about? I'd be worried about where do I leave my bag? Is there a locker? Where do I park?
Can I ride my bike?
You know, the roster has a finish time. Mm-hmm. I've worked in lots of places where we don't ever finish on the finish time. Yeah. So is this one of those places or not one of those places? Like, can I tell my family that I'll be home for dinner time or not? Like all of those sort of things, you know, the real, like, it's not captured in a system, but it is important to people's experience.
Yeah, so
it's crucial.
I love when, you know, the way that I've always done the have a plan thing is I'll actually set up, just like on a mural board or something, like a timeline that'll be like day 0, day 1, day 7, day 14, day 30, right? And then it's just like, hey, these are the milestones, right? So what am I going to do under each of those headings? Day 0, get them all the information. Even if you can, get them to come in for a couple of hours, right? And go through all that together. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way, but that's okay. Day 1 is like, okay, we're going to do all the induction, all the orientation, all the compliance, all that stuff has to be done, the meet and greet. And then you just sort of stretch it out, like when am I doing what? But what I always make sure I do on the day 7, 14, 30 is a little check-in around, hey, are you still feeling it? Is it what, you know, you signed up for? Is there any of those gaps? But one of the key questions is, how could your onboarding experience have been better? Because what's great about those documents around like how to approach the role and your induction and your orientation is when someone points something out, if someone has to ask a question, like anytime I'm doing an induction, if someone asks me a question that isn't in it, I just write it down.
Yeah.
I answer the question, but then I add it. You know, so all that stuff should just be evolving, you know, so that it's just becoming more and more informative as you go.
I think the hard thing is that, you know, my job in that space is making that template, the day 0, the day 1.
Right.
But the leader's job, if you're the leader of that person, it is your job to build that plan. I can't build that plan.
You can't put the detail in. Yeah. No way.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could never know.
You can't prescribe that, hey, on day 2 at 11 o'clock, that's the perfect time to
that's when normally that supplier drops in. So I should make sure that I can pull them out and say, hey, have you met our new such and such?
Yeah, like, how could you possibly do
that? So I think that's, you know, I know we expect so much of leaders. We ask a lot, you know, particularly in the last episode in compliance, and then increasingly we're talking about, talent's everyone's responsibility. So is induction, onboarding, so is training. We ask a lot, but I think it is about where can I systemize, where can I use the tools?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that is an unavoidable part of being a leader. That is what you're paid for.
100%.
Do the job.
So I think the only other bit I'd add to the onboarding plan is to put some breadcrumbs in it.
Yep.
So in that day 7, 14, and definitely by day 30 is we're building some pathways toward the growth and development chats. Because by day 30, that's onboarding is well and truly done. And now I'm completely now in the growth and development space, right? So this is a really interesting one because everyone does growth and development differently, and the ones that do it shit do it differently. The ones that do it well do it differently.
Yep.
So can I, again, in keeping in theme with this, can I tell you what I like to do and just tell me where I'm wrong or what I could do better? So in my mind, right, I think a lot of people get tripped up when it comes to growth and development with certain key terms. Yep. Like, is this a performance management plan?
Sure.
Is this a development plan?
Yeah.
People, even employers, get hung up on a performance management. Why do I need, if this person's not right and I want to exit them, so I'm creating a performance management plan so that I don't get sued. It's kind of like, no, that's not, kind of, but no. Like, when you think about legislation and why these policies are in place, right, they're created by some of the best legislators in the world, right? Like Australia has the best standard of living, right? It's amazing. And like I've managed people and companies in multiple countries before, and I can tell you right now, right, like what comes with
we look after our people.
100%, right? And you can't knock that. So it's kind of going, hey, we're going to give you the best practices to do the best thing. If you struggle with those best practices, that's not because Fair Work is shit. It's because you're not running your business very well.
Yeah.
So some of the basic ones is like, hey, if someone's not performing, right, in heavy quotes, to the standard that you need, the best practice is to give them clarity, right? That's not so you can cover your ass with a paper trail. It's so that you are giving yourself the best chance at retaining talent. Because sometimes, and honestly, I reckon I'm probably 50-50. You sit down with someone for that type of intervention and you're giving them this performance management plan, which is actually just being explicit about what you need to see from them. Sometimes, right, it just leads to termination, whether it's through them not performing and then you do the second and third. Sometimes they're just on the spot, like, you know what, I'm not up for that, so I'll just resign. It's like, okay, no problem, right? But the other half of the time, they just go, fuck, is that what it is? Oh, man, I've been trying to do this shit. Okay, I got you, right? And they smash it. Some of the best managers that are kind of like in my network have come from chats like that. So again, back to the growth and development thing, the way that I think about it is you need to be sitting down with your people, right? No less frequent than monthly, okay? And you need to basically have a really good chat with them, even if it's basic back of a napkin stuff around, hey, here's what I appreciate about you, right? Here's what you're doing well. Here's a couple of things I'd love you to work on, and here's how I see your future in the company. Because if you just answer those 3 questions, you are telling everybody where they stand. And as an employer, that should be your basic duty, right? You have to let people know where they stand. The idea that you can go home at the end of the night and people are wondering about how you rate them and how you think about it, like that is just the shittest thing you can do for someone's mental health, right? So I think that plan, all right, should be us having a conversation, but it's in writing, right? It's a document, right? We'll talk about it and I go, cool, here's the document, or it's in your inbox now. We have this shared document that has captured the discussion, because I might walk away thinking something different to you, but the document will refine that. And then the content of that document is going to tell you whether it's a performance management plan or a development plan. And that kind of shouldn't matter, right? It should just be that it's accurate and it's giving them the feedback that they need to be able to get where they need to be. So, yeah, what's your take on all of that? Where am I missing the mark, or where am I nailing it?
You're not missing the mark at all. Again, I come back to like the system, right? So again, and we talked about mission critical roles before. Another thing that I really love to introduce to clients of mine is like a 9 grid. So
9 grid.
Yeah. So very kind of fairly corporately common, but let's talk about how we take the system and then turn it into the feedback, the conversations that you're suggesting. So again, love a model, love an axis. One axis is performance.
Yep.
So 1, the lowest level of performance, 3, the highest, and the other is potential. 1, the lowest level of potential, 3, unlimited potential. Then we map, so there's 3 levels on each axis, so there's nine boxes, 9 grids. That's the answer to the, am I having a performance improvement conversation or am I having a development conversation?
Love that.
For those that are in that very top right box, our stars, our absolute superstars, there's no doubt that the conversation we're having for them is, you have 3 out of 3 performance, 3 out of 3 potential. Like, you are my future. So let me tell you what it is.
Yeah,
so let me tell you where you're going, and let me tell you what the skills are that you need to keep building on to get there. For the people that are down in the bottom left, 1 performance, 1 potential, risk, they are the people that should no longer be here in a couple of months' time. So, and then we kind of go to the boxes in the rest of the 9 grid to decide, well, it makes it very easy to have a conversation though. Are we having a conversation that you've got really great potential, but your performance isn't there yet? Because then I've just got to help you with the capability stuff.
Love it.
Or are we having a conversation where your performance is exceptional? Like, you're one of those like anchor of excellence people, but your potential, there's no potential for you to grow. So that actually might be fine. I just need you to keep performing.
Yep.
Don't hold the team back. But we've got to have some people like that who just do their job.
Love
and
that.
they're not actually wanting to grow. But at least we can explicitly have that conversation,
Totally.
you know?
And it's so clear, like, again, like, know where you stand, right? It's so clear. Like, the thing that I've always used in the past, which is, I'm definitely adopting that now as opposed to what I have been using. Yeah. It's like, my thing that I will say to managers is like, hey, you're only allowed to give me 1 word. It can only be yes or it can only be no. You can't explain it. And the question I'm going to ask you is, imagine it's 7:00 at night, you're sitting down to dinner, and this person calls you, okay? And you know it's probably going to be a 35-minute call where you need to let them vent, you need to help them. You can't just tell them the solution. You've got to coach them through it. Are you going to be prepared to do that for this person? Yes or no? Okay, and whatever your answer is, it's the same result, right? Write a plan according to that and share it with the person, right? And sometimes if someone's going to say no, to me that's a way of measuring what they think the potential side is of that 9 square, what do you call it, 9 box thing. Okay, huge. So where was I going to go with this? Like, I just think like that aspect of growth and development, this is a big can of worms. But I think the rug that really ties this room together for me is leadership development, right?
Yes.
It's leadership and management theory and practice. And what are you doing to increase the aptitude of your leaders? Because if you go work in corporate, right, or you go work for an engineering company, right, it doesn't matter how good you are at math, right? You are not going to be allowed to manage people until you've done at least an advanced diploma. Yet in our industry, in hospo, man, most of the time you're off the deep end, right? Like, you're pretty good at your job, so therefore you'll become a leader. And there's just very little support in most cases, right? Like, some people do it well where they'll be like, okay, we're going to pay for you to go and do this course or whatever. But even some of the things I've seen out there, when you look at the content of these courses, they're not great.
Yeah, I've had the same experience.
Yeah, so the leadership development piece is integral, right? And where I place that in this whole thing is in that growth and development bit, because I need to have that programmatically at hand for, making sure that when I'm having those chats, invariably when it comes down to growth and where you can do better and what your future is, it's going to cover training. It's going to cover development in that area. There's always going to be things like, hey, okay, listen, where I need you to work on is this particular policy. We've got a workshop for that. When it comes to recruitment, when it comes to, I feel like you've onboarded a few people and missed a few steps. So can you do the workshop on that? And in an ideal world, if you had an unlimited budget, you'd just create a digital LMS and everything's there, But unfortunately, we're not Salesforce, most, or LinkedIn, most companies don't have access to that. So have you got any hints or tricks on how I can make sure that I'm increasing, the leadership and management aptitude of the leaders in the company?
Yeah, firstly, I think it's really important to actually separate leadership and management. So some of those things you're talking about there, I need to recruit better, I need to roster more effectively. That's management.
Yeah, it's such a good point.
That is, okay, cool. That is a skill.
Yeah.
We can teach a skill.
Yeah, totally.
So that's easy. Yeah. Or watch the video, buddy up with someone, spend time. There's a bunch of ways we know how to teach skills. Mm-hmm. If you're a leader out there, think about like, how did I teach someone to julienne carrots? How did I teach someone how to make a margarita? It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. Then we've got leadership.
Yeah,
And when we
totally.
get into the leadership stuff, we're actually talking more about personality.
Yeah.
We're talking more about people's talents and skills.
But also like the psychology of like how to build empowering mindsets.
Yes.
How to build healthy relationships.
Yep.
Like they're massive. How to build
if-
trust.
Totally.
Yeah.
Now, as we come back to that kind of 9 grid, we really want to be making sure that we're providing that investment in those people that are already performing. So we don't need to cover off the kind of skills piece. Of course, we're all going to keep covering that off, but like as we grow.
Yep.
But those ones that have the potential for greater leadership. I am an accredited Gallup-Clifton strengths coach, so I very often come back to strengths.
Yep.
Such a great tool and really nuanced for like there is none of this deficiency mindset. There's nothing that you're bad at. There are only things that you're good at, and we can enhance the things that you're good at more.
Yeah.
We can. It's so great for understanding, like having that self-awareness around I am this, I am not this.
Yep.
I am good at this naturally. Therefore I struggle when things happen like this. So I'm a fan of if we got the management bit dialed and we're in the leadership space, let's give people a tool
Yeah.
so that they can increase that self-awareness.
Yes.
But what that also does is each leader develops themselves, but often what is more powerful is the leadership team.
Yeah,
so the
sure.
team dynamic. So when you can show up with strengths, for example, there's a number of tools, but obviously I'm a massive strengths fan, and say to other people in your team, I do this because of this. I am like this, and I now understand it's because of this. Your teammates will go, I see that about you, and that used to really piss me off. But now that you're explaining it through that strengths lens, I'm going to actually give you a bit more credit for that because we need a bit of that on our team.
Yeah.
The same way we need a bit of the thing about me that probably pisses you off.
Or sometimes it's like, hey, I hear you, and here's how I think you might get in your own way and
Yeah.
not realize it. So it's funny to me. It's talking about where self-awareness becomes self-knowledge.
Yes.
And having those methods. It's funny because I'm a big Enneagram guy.
Love that about you.
And
Yes.
I did all the LSI stuff. And
Yes.
when I did Enneagram and LSI, I was like, okay, I never need anything ever again.
Yeah.
But the downside.
And yet I made you do your strengths.
I know.
Yeah.
Was there a cost to that?
Yeah, but I would have just.
Did you just shout me?
Yeah, I just
you're a
shouted
legend.
you,
Thank
yeah.
you. So, because why I ask is because everyone, I think, has.
Achiever number 1, right? From memory?
I can't remember.
I should have looked.
Yeah, I should have looked
okay.
it up before we did this.
Yeah.
But
You know what's coming next? Coaching session on this.
I was thinking the same
Yeah.
thing. We should do a
Yeah.
leadership one.
Yeah.
But in where I was going with that is that like I think there's a high level of propensity from people, whether they admit it or not, that they want to obtain self-awareness and therefore self-knowledge. It's access that's difficult.
Yep.
And like, you know, I think LSI is probably one of the most confronting, insanely difficult. I know there's a lot of
Agree.
criticism on it,
Yep.
but it's also really fucking expensive, right?
Yes,
It's really time
over
consuming.
$1,000.
Yeah.
You require a coach. You know,
Yeah.
Jess on my team is LSI accredited.
Okay.
We tend to use that tool more in like remediation, if I'm
Oh,
honest.
right, really?
Like, because as you say, it is really confronting.
Sure.
So often it is the people who really don't have that self-awareness.
Got it.
But that cannot be a very nice journey. Like that wouldn't be somewhere that I would go to generally
Yeah.
for a team. Let's
Sure.
get everyone to do their LSI.
Sure.
Let's really kind of punch them in the face with the things that because it's also
pretty brutal.
360, right? So
Yeah,
it's other
exactly.
people saying about you, Leon is deficient in this.
Yeah.
Leon's poor behavior in this space impacts me by this. That's not for everyone.
No,
and that's not
totally.
also often the best way to improve people's leadership.
Yeah, sure.
And so
It's raw
it
as
has a
fuck.
space.
Yeah.
It has a space. Some people really lean into that, like,
Yeah.
you know, punch me in the face again. Let's
yeah,
go.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, though, that is too
It's too
confronting.
much.
Yeah,
Wrong delivery method.
totally.
Yeah. So, okay, great. So I guess like in my mind where, you know, just to bring this back into like the growth and development stage, to me, when you've got a really good leadership and management development program, you're covering all of this, right? Because, you know, like even if you go to RMIT and do the advanced diploma, right, they're going to talk about, like you're going to get that textbook by Chris Cole, right?
Yep.
And you're going to literally learn things like the Johari window and
Yes.
the trust equation and all
Yep.
these things, right?
Yep.
And they're super important. So I'm yet to see a good example of an organization that has connected those dots? Because outside of, like, you can't really just be like, in an ideal world, I'd be like, oh, I'm going to send everyone to RMIT to do that advanced diploma, but I don't have thousands of dollars per person. So, yeah, it's an interesting one that I don't think, maybe we need to do an episode on it.
I think we definitely could.
Yeah.
And that was certainly, I've been coaching in that Gallup strength space for a long time, and at the start of this year, teamed up with 2 other co-founders and started a program specifically about this. And we thought it would just be about strengths, but then increasingly what we got asked for was leadership.
Totally.
So that space, I think, is very coveted. Like, people want to do a good job. They don't quite know. I agree with you. They don't have thousands of dollars. Also, my caution would be, there's going to be some people on your team that even if you could send them to RMIT and do that, that's not going to be right for them.
Yeah, totally.
So,
because so much of it's going to be corporate facing or aimed.
Yeah, but also I just think leadership, this is my opinion, but very one size, like individualized.
Yes.
One size doesn't fit all.
True.
So actually the best thing you can do if you're that founder, general manager, owner who's responsible for the leaders in your organization leading is to really know, like, how are they motivated? What pushes their boat? What are the things that they're going to learn certain ways and not learn other ways, and then tailor to them.
Yeah.
But do have a team environment, because that's, it is lonely at the top. If you can't have that team around you where there's great leadership dynamics in that team, then really what hope does the rest of the organisation have?
Yeah, because you just
cascade.
Yeah, and you're also then not getting the most out of everyone's uniqueness.
Totally.
Yeah, it was funny. When I was at Melbourne Business School, the leadership subject isn't a whole term. They just
I know.
They just squeeze it into a weekend, and it's a little bit like tick
Is
the
that
box.
it?
The person who did my one was actually great. She was like really, really good, really passionate about it, really good. But it was also like, man, this should definitely be a foundational thing. And I was actually really lucky that I also got a scholarship to do work with another business school. So I got to see like 2 different programs and how they run, and that school was like leadership is number 1.
Yes.
And you have to do the whole semester on it, and it was so dope. Like the guy who was running it, like the first slide and the first subject was this really hectic like statement. Like at MBS, it was always like, where's the academic case study? How's it? You can't really just have an opinion. This guy just goes bang with this like really fucking strong opinion. It was like, I just want to start this by letting you know that's just my opinion. And if you disagree, you can fight me on it.
Yes, like, I love that. I will.
Statement. Yeah,
let's go.
That's exactly what happened, right? So
Yeah.
you had this group of leaders that weren't just like, oh, this is how I understand leadership from an academic lens. It was like, this is how leadership applies to me, and this is how I can get the most out of myself in order to be the best leader, which is such a foundational concept. Okay, so I'm just going to recap here, right? So
Last thing I think we have to say.
Go for it.
Feedback is a two-way thing.
Yes.
So as if you're a leader being like, okay, gosh, Leon and Kate are telling me like I've got to make time, I've got to have these conversations, I should map them on the 9 grid.
Yeah.
That's all great. Do make sure that you say, is there any feedback for me?
Yeah, totally.
What could I do differently as a leader to get the best out of you?
Can I challenge that though?
Yeah.
This is again purely anecdotal.
Sure.
I found that, and this is actually going to be a great segue. So I've always put that question in.
Yep.
And I've never found it to be super rewarding, right? And let me explain what I mean by that. So, before when you're talking about the LSI thing, like, hey, punch me in the face, that's me, right?
Yeah,
fucking
it is
give
you.
me the feedback and make it constructive if you want, right? Like that's the way I kind of view those things. So I go in with that. I'm like, fucking tell me, right? But I've just find that there's a bit of a dynamic struggle. It doesn't matter how amazing you are at leadership. There's just always going to be, some people are going to be comfortable telling you and some people aren't.
Yep.
And I end up getting to the point where I left that question in all the time, but I've never relied on it, because where I've gotten much better insight is when people are filling out their engagement surveys anonymously. It's like, man, that's where you get the good shit. So what's your take on that? And maybe this can be our segue into measurement of engagement.
Yes. I agree with you that you are more likely to get really honest feedback in anonymous engagement surveys. The problem is you don't know where it comes from, right?
Sure.
So it depends your level of leadership. But also I would say reflect on the fact that as a leader, if your team are unprepared to give you constructive feedback, what it's telling you is you don't have a psychologically safe workplace.
Yeah, okay.
So I've had that same experience where I've said to a team collectively, like together, hey, guys, give me some feedback. Like I'm up here, like I get feedback from my peers, from my leader, but the most valuable feedback's going to be from you. And they're all like, no, everything's great, Kate.
Yeah.
My answer to that will be like, thank you. Next month, I really want you to come with something. Next month comes around, like, no, really, everything's great. So then what I have to do is go, okay, you know the bar that you're saying is me and everything's great? For our meeting next month, I want you to take that bar and I want you to make it the chief people officer of the biggest organisation that you can think of. And I want you to give me the feedback between where I am now that you're saying to me is great, is perfect, and where you would hope me to be if I was that.
What an awesome way to frame it.
It's such a great way to give people permission. Oh, suddenly I'm not really giving Kate feedback on Kate. Yeah. I'm giving Kate feedback on the hypothetical, improved, much more senior, much better Kate. And that gives me permission to actually tell her how I really feel.
Love that.
But I can sort of couch it in that, but you're not that. So, this is me really pushing you. Well, that's what I'm asking you to do. Push me. I'm like you in that sense. Yeah. But I think there are ways that we don't have to deal with, everything's great and go, cool, my team told me everything's great and that's the end of the story.
Totally. And I love what you're saying because it gets back to that building that culture. And this happens through leadership development, right? Like when people are learning about, how to build effective relationships, it's based on trust. And it's based on awareness and it's based on things like the Johari window. And when you understand those models, you go, hey, feedback is generous. That's why
it's a gift.
Yeah. And it's like saying that, like, if we go to a party together and I've got spinach in my teeth and you don't tell me, I'm going to be like, bro, why didn't
do you not care about me? You just let me walk around with the spinach in my teeth? Yeah. Like never. I would never do that for you.
And so like that is, it comes back to that connection. Have you built the right rapport and connection and trust with those people so that they will be generous in their feedback that they give you?
I think you then also model. You model for them, if this is how I lead and it's important to me and I'm, you give me that feedback and then you see me take that on and work on it. I expect the same thing from you. I expect you to go and ask your team for feedback. And I expect when you get it that you won't get angry about it and be like, idiots. Instead, you'll be like, wow, that's an interesting reflection. I'm curious about that. Well, could I actually do something about that?
Yeah.
Like it is modeling it, cascading, a word that I use a lot. Like it starts here, it cascades down. If we can get that right, then the measurement is a bonus. I've said it before, what gets measured gets done.
Yes.
So if we don't measure, probably it's unlikely that we'll change, we'll do anything. So the measure is important, but I honestly think it's the same thing. I say this about performance development reviews, PDRs all the time. It's great if they prepare really well, you prepare really well. What's most important is that the conversation is really good.
Totally.
So then the PDR is that's the measure, right?
Yeah.
And then the conversation is the value.
Yeah.
So focus on the value more than the measure, but allow the measure to guide you. I've got a brilliant client that uses Employment Hero, has their monthly happiness survey. Now, they've got a huge casualised workforce, as do most of the listeners. And so they hover around the 40% response rate and they're pushing so hard they want to get to the 65% or more and they're doing all the right things.
Sure.
But their happiness is like around the 8.1 out of 10.
Okay.
That's a good score.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Excellent
Way
score.
above the benchmark.
Way above.
Yeah.
Any month that response sits around the 40% and it drops to like 7.9, we're having a conversation about because that's actually a big drop.
Yeah.
And that tells us something is going on.
Huge.
Now, what I do in their Employment Hero is anyone who's under a 5, I comment. And I used to say, can you tell me what's going on? This is all anonymous, by the way. Sometimes people wouldn't respond to me because I felt like they were like, if I respond, she'll know who it is. I can't. I literally can't. Yeah. What I've started doing, similar to what you do, is saying, can you give me one word? If they don't leave a comment, can you give me one word to explain your 3 out of 10?
Yeah, nice.
And then I get some great words back frustrated, burnt out, tired.
You know what you should throw in there? Ask them to use an emoji.
Well, I don't know if you can. I should look into that. But exactly right. Then in one word, you know so much.
Yeah,
and you almost know, that's coming from the kitchen because they've been a person down, someone got injured, they haven't been at work. Like you don't need to know who it is to know, okay, do I need to do something there or is that going to resolve itself next month?
I love that. This is a great way to bring this home. But before we do, just a quick recap, right? So there's 3 areas I talked about was like people journeys. We covered like the personnel and the feedback within that, which is awesome. It really should just be an extension of it. And then it's all about engagement, right? And measurement of engagement. And I don't know how you do that anymore without an app. I just think like even if you're just sending out a survey every quarter, most people just do it annually. And it's like, man, you're never going to get the response rate that you're looking for that information to be representative, right? Whereas like I've used Office Vibe a lot in the past. I really rate it. And it's just like, cool, 5 questions every week. Bang, 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 bang. And to your point, right, it really helps you diagnose the problem, right? Because you've just got this grid. It's all the main scores. You know what I love when we were talking about recruitment and creating ambassadors? The first column in the data is the NPS score, right?
Yes.
So the employee net promoter score. And that's something that, at the start I used to just look past that and look for the real practical stuff. But that is like there for a reason at number one. Anyway, it's stuff like, relationship with manager, morale, all these things. And so it's not just like hey, that department or overall our organization has this like consolidated data, but that particular department, I can check what the number is, right? And then if that happiness score isn't, the 8.1 or dips below a 7.5, whatever my benchmarks are, internal benchmarks are, if it dips below that, I click on it and it will show me all the questions, right? And then I can really drill down. And the thing that it also does that's great is it'll tell you whether it's this is a partial survey response or this is like a conclusive one. And even in most people go, if it's just partial, I don't know. Where it's like, no, like
that tells you something.
Yeah. So I just think like I would be so lost without that data because before I had that tool, I was completely reliant on vibe. I'm completely reliant on, okay, I'm just going to come into work and I'm going to sense that something seems off, right? And then how am I going to fucking fix that? I'm just going to try and figure it out. I'm going to my bias is going to creep in. I'm probably solving the wrong problem. But then when I can actually just go, okay, that person's happiness score dipped because they feel like they've got a lower level of trust in their manager. Cool. Talk to that manager. Hey, what's happened in the last week? Can you talk a little? And it's just insanely potent for like where to point the needle.
Also, you can never trust vibe as the leader because the vibe around you is going to be the best that it is, that it can be because everyone's going to manage you and feed you so that they're like, everything's great.
Yeah.
Look over here, so don't trust vibe. That's a really not a safe place to trust. As a people experience professional, I would comment it's so interesting how much we care about Google reviews, how much we care about, I've got lots of clients that have like ask nicely feedback or, they get the 7 rooms feedback, little rating thing. And yet we don't do the same for our people. Like imagine if we cared the same amount of every person's shift every day as we cared about every service from a guest experience. Like, we got that thinking of like, if only every guest left us a Google review, if only every person told us, hey, this is how I went today.
Yeah.
I've actually seen Tanda has a really nice little like green smiley face, red sad face. Nice. Like this, again, system functionality that you can turn on.
Love that.
And just use it to start seeing like, what is my response rate? Like if it's, again, feedback is not just what people tell you, it's what people don't tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
So if my response rate is low, that tells me the same thing as when I ask for feedback and no one gives it to me and says everything's great, Kate. Because what they're saying is I'm not sure I see value in spending my time, even if it's to select the green smiley face, because I'm not convinced you're going to do anything with that. So I won't bother. So you actually are going to need to tell people, and we do this at this client with the happiness survey. We're like, we need to hear. We're going to use it. This is what we do with it. please tell us.
The other thing I love about it, and this is probably the last thing I'll say on it, and then we should totally wrap this up.
Yeah, another 3 hours.
I just think like it's giving people a voice, right? Like
Yes.
a place where they're not just filling out the survey, but if at any point they just need to go anonymously and say something, they can do that without fear of being judged, without fear of anything else. It's just like if you don't give people a voice to be able to do that anonymously, how can you really be providing the safest possible workplace? And sometimes the information that will come through, you know, in that
It's
feed,
hard to hear.
but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just like we keep running out of fucking pens.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, buy some pens for
Yeah.
fuck's sake, because that problem of running out of pens the first time compared to the 7th time is like, now I'm going to quit. Over
Yes.
it, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Please
just fix-
don't quit over the pens.
Yeah, but that's what happens, right? It compounds and it pisses you off and it pisses you off until it's just, I'm fucking over it. So you can fix all that shit, but then like you said, right, some of the stuff that's hard to hear and some of the stuff that might genuinely be someone worried about their safety, you know, like you need to be able to give people an avenue for that. So
And you really need to act on it.
and you
Like,
need to
you
act
know,
on it. Yeah, if you want people to keep using it,
Correct.
then you need to act on it. So someone can be like, cool, I've complained about the pens, and the next day I came to work, there was 3 boxes of pens.
Yeah.
Guess what? Now I'm going to keep talking to that channel.
Yeah, and when I see some behaviour that actually isn't the way that I'm told that we behave in this workplace, I'm going to say something about it, even anonymously, because I trust that if I do that, it'll be listened to, it'll be acted on.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is the tie back to that's how we create engagement as well.
Yeah.
That's how we create really engaged people that deliver excellent service, that are retained for as long as they can be, for as long as it's right for both sides. And there's the win.
Yeah. So it closes the loop.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this up because we both got meetings we need to get to.
Yeah.
So,
Kick on.
but this has been amazing, dude. So thank you so much for leaving your north and southerny paradise to come down to Melbourne in the 10-degree mornings. You're a legend. Everyone, I hope you've really enjoyed that, and please stay tuned for the next episode we do on leadership.
For sure. Thank you for having me. It's
Legend.
been great.
Thank you, mate.
Thanks for listening. Show notes, takeaways, and tools are available via our website, pax.melbourne. The Pax Hospitality Podcast is produced by Pax and Crate Creative. Support for this podcast comes from Square and Brunswick Design and Innovation. Our music is produced by Patricia Heath and Matthias Vesterven.